Chill Seth here. Yeah, I'm taking a break. Is Chill Adam here?
Hello, relaxing.
Yo, Chill Connor?
What?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Chill Jacob?
Hello. I'm on vacations.
Whoa. Yeah, no, we're all chilling. We are all doing some R&R for the next little bit because we finished our season 1.
Whoa.
Congratulations us.
We did it. Alive,
we did it,
too.
And, yeah, all of you surprisingly survived. Norman, it was touch and go.
It was
there
close,
for
man.
every
Spoilers.
single combat.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoilers. Sorry. But yeah, we're just taking it easy, and we're doing a Q&A episode today.
Woo!
Yeah.
There you go. So delayed.
We're pumped, obviously.
Yeah, no. So this week, no episode. But next week, we have a one-shot coming up with Connor DMing.
We'll talk. Actually, no. We're gonna keep it under wraps. I've got some stuff together. Maybe we'll talk. But
Can we know the name of it?
Listener will have to wait to see. Here.
Yeah, what's your one-shot called?
I don't have a name for
Come
it.
up with something. Just come up with something. Like 3,
I'll
2,
come
1,
up with
go.
something by the end of the episode. So listen to the end to hear what.
Just toss in like a Game of Thrones book title. It's like Song of Ice and Fire or something.
Feast of Crowns.
Oh dang it! I was gonna say
Connor,
Feast of Crows.
I don't want you to feel pressured at all, especially with coming up with a name. I think even if you said something at the end of the episode, it would come across as something that you just didn't truly have your heart in. So take all the time you need.
No.
Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate
Surprisingly
that.
considerate.
Adam, those who wait in life are losers, which is why Connor told me in private what the name is.
No!
It's a good one.
Jacob has the secret!
It's the best name I've ever heard. And he's going to say it at the end of the episode. It's going to be great.
Listen to the end if you want to know the name of the one
It's
shot.
just, it's unreal. And it'll make you laugh, but also think just how intricate the name is. So it's,
Oh my God.
it's you listen to the end. If not, don't, just skip right now, honestly. Go to the end.
Yeah, that's the
Timestamp.
important part.
Yeah, so get excited for that, obviously. Connor, start Googling. But no, we're doing a Q&A today to answer all your questions about Season 1. So you guys want to hop into it right
Sick,
now?
yeah.
First question. Here we go. Thank you, by the way, everyone who submitted questions. First up, we got one from @BillShreve on Twitter. He asked, and this one is for you three. Each of you picked a class that is not from the standard book. Adam, with Norman, you chose College of Whispers. Darian is a Horizon Walker, and Zippy with the Circle of Dreams. Why did you choose these subclasses, and what was your inspiration for role-playing these classes? So basically, talk about how you made your characters and why you chose the things you did.
It came to me in a dream.
Oh my God.
A fever dream. I woke up in a cold sweat. My wife, she asked me, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm from the Bramble Patch." And my name's Zippy Westboro. She rolled over and went back to sleep.
Nothing new.
Instead, I couldn't sleep. I grabbed a pen. Tring. Paper. and, and I started sketching. I couldn't make any sense of it.
Is that the end?
And so, when Seth and I did our prologue, he said, "And here you are. What's your name?" I panicked. I had these scribbles in front of me. It still didn't make any sense. I made my voice a little higher, I thought, what's the most innocent thing I could do that couldn't upset any possible viewers? A rabbit. That'll do. He was born. Zippy Westboro.
I will say that it is 100% true that the first time I ever heard the character voice for Zippy was during that prologue. It took me like, oh man, I was in shock. It was so funny. That's beautiful.
Sometimes I still
can't top that. I mean, that's just as beautiful as it
sometimes
gets.
I still think I'm dreaming.
And that's why you went with Druid Circle of Dreams for Zippy.
Okay. To give a kind of real answer to the question, I guess.
That was as real as it got, Connor.
Yeah, it was pretty heavy. I thought we were trying to like relax, you know? Like, why did we got real deep real quick. For me, it was just I had in a lot of the games that I've played and kind of different variants of D&D and I've played some D20 Modern and other stuff like that. I wanted to do something that I'd never really done before, and I'd never done any like planar stuff. Like everything's usually stayed in the prime plane or it was on Earth, and so I wanted to do something more kind of foreign for a kind of characters that I've played before. And so I was like, oh man, that'd be really exciting. And then the kind of the whole lore surrounding the Horizon Walkers and the jumping between planes and finding portals, which we haven't really gotten a chance to do yet, but I'm hoping we get a little more of an opportunity in season 2. Just really grabbed my attention there. I've also never played a ranger before, so that's why I kind of chose to do that. That was a new thing for me as well. And I was thinking about doing the classic animal companion, but it's just what everybody does as a ranger, and so I wanted to do something a little more out of the box on that one. And Eladrins had just dropped, and they also interested me, so just, went for the foreigner from a distant land, so distant it's on another plane of existence.
Nice. If it's my turn, are you done, Connor?
Yeah.
Okay, for me, it was really organic. The only thing I knew about my character was that I wanted him to have some kind of mysterious, he wasn't sure who his dad was, kind of Hercules style. And then I met with Seth, and we kind of really workshopped it together, because I actually wanted to be a warlock in the beginning. And Seth, you told me, you were like, you know what? Once we talked a little bit about more who the character was and what his goals were, it was, you know what? I don't really think a warlock is what you would be. You would kind of be more like a bard who's kind of convincing people instead of using force. But then I was like, but I still want to have that kind of ability to manipulate kind of behind the scenes. And he said, man, there's this new college that just came up for the bard that will still be a tiefling like you want it to be, College of Whispers. It was really a lot of his idea. I just kind of had a lot of his motives and kind of a little bit of his story, and then Seth kind of helped build the character for me. So
I think it was very collaborative, and it was also, I was basically just kind of throwing a ton of colleges that I thought you might be interested in, because you'd never done a bard before, right?
Yeah, never.
So I just threw a bunch at you, and College of Whispers I was leaning towards, because I thought it would just be such a perfect fit for, the demon king side of your character.
And that's the thing.
And all that.
Like, another thing that I don't know if this is going to get in the way of another question, but a lot of Normandy's backstory is all conjecture to Norman. He doesn't really know. He has a bunch of theories about where he's from, and when me and Seth were talking about that, we started brainstorming, and then halfway through we said, wait, Seth should decide this and not tell me whether or not Normandy is right. Because he was like, well, maybe his dad is the Demon King, but maybe he's just an orphan who thinks he's the son of the Demon King. And so Norman still doesn't actually know. I don't even actually know that. I'm assuming you know, right, Seth?
Yeah, I'll figure that out.
Nice.
No, but yeah, you're right. You're but Normandy believes it's true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, your character's, I think it's so unique, especially the monk aspect, which, I think that's Usually people will just stick with like the one kind of trait, but the monk bit in there as well, I think adds some
that's a cool
special flavor. Yeah, well, I think that answers that question. Let's go on to another one. Okay, this one is for the cast, so you guys. What was the craziest thing that happened this season story-wise? Or just what was the craziest thing that happened to you or was the most surprising, I suppose? And this is from Bill Shreve again.
The craziest thing that happened in this season.
What surprised you the most?
I think for me, it was probably like the dreams, like the resolution meeting the God of Dreams, and then because we met him, turned into the whole finale, because we potentially Mir wouldn't have even shown up if the God of Dreams didn't find out, and so I think having that reveal where all of a sudden he's going through Zippy's memories, and that moment of panic that kind of hits all three of us as soon as we see him doing that, and Zippy's like smacking his head on the table. I'm like kicking him, trying to wake him up, and like all of us are panicking in that moment. I think was like a big kind of like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. And that as soon as it happened, all of us were like, oh no.
Yeah, that's true.
And we were just coming off the high of, kind of convincing him and getting to that place. So we were like feeling good. We're like, we did it. We finally made it. And then that curveball came in, and that was, that threw me through a loop.
I think for me, it was when I realized we weren't making an Adventures in Odyssey episode, but instead we're playing Diablo.
Honestly, that took me by surprise as well.
It was when I was in the castle and tried to separate from the group and kind of, make some moves story-wise. But instead I just got I turned into a mouse and then got stepped on and then I ran away and then I just realized...
That was a tense moment.
I realized things where the world wouldn't be so kind to my furry face. And, that was hard.
And then your finger got cut off.
Yeah, that was...
Oh, yeah!
I still haven't reconciled with that. Yeah. Are you a bunny? Are you still a Lapine if you're missing a finger? We'll have to know season 2.
Season 2 will do a deep dive, 5 episodes at least, into Zippy's psyche.
You don't have 5 fingers. But this isn't my fault.
So follow up then, does Zippy think he's going to be kicked out of the Bramble Patch because he lost a finger?
It's not a funny joke, Darian. When things started ramping up danger-wise, I think, especially in that scene for myself, I may have played cool, you know me, Zippy fans, I'm pretty cool, but pretty good under the heat lamp, but I swear I was sweating my butt off at that scene.
that was the same for me. I remember thinking, Zippy could die in this moment. We're not there to save him. It's all up to the dice, and you kind of lucked out there, Jake, with only losing one finger. But it was very possible. It could have lost 3, 4. Who knows what could have happened, right? That was. I remember from that moment on, the world, the danger felt more real. It was what, our characters can die. It was a lot more careful decision making after that, for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's when you guys all kind of really started thinking about what you were doing.
Yeah.
Instead of just being we can do anything without getting touched. But yeah, I'm surprised Jacob only lost one finger. I thought the odds were he would lose at least 3.
Yeah.
But the dice were nice.
Craziest moment for me was when Zippy failed to kill Carmine on the ship the first time. When he kind of sneaks in there, we're all kind of waiting too. And then, because just in real life, you stab someone in the chest when they're sleeping, they're dead. But then it's so easy to underestimate. It was easy for me to underestimate, at least, how powerful Carmine was, punching holes through the ship, and it's like Zippy just getting out of there, and then Darian like teleporting in, teleporting out. It was so sweet. But that was a real like, man, what is going to happen next if we don't save Combe? Like, does the story end? Like, do we have to start the campaign over? Because it felt like such a game over in that moment. And then the story kind of evolved and it became something else entirely. It was cool.
Yeah, the whole Carmine thing was akin to stabbing a rhino charging at me with a butter knife.
Pretty much.
The rules just don't apply when you think they would.
I mean, man, it was like Seth had like handed him on a silver platter to you to have that revenge, and then just another curveball just busts out, and man, that was another moment where I was like, oh no, I think Zippy's gonna die, but then we managed to just make it out of there.
The teleportation save was pretty cool. I gotta admit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like,
there was definitely some debate on my end, though, whether, like, you know, in normal life, you'd probably just go for the head or the neck and then end it. But, like, with the rules, there was no real, like, you know, sleep kill, insta kill thing. It was just, like, you know, stealth attacks or stuff like that. Except I believe we all looked into it, and there was, like, a 3.5 one or something.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
there was
handled that?
There was a 3.5 rule where it was, like, if you do, like, a certain amount of damage, like, equal to, I don't know, some amount of their constitution, they have to make like a constitution saving throw, and if they fail, they die instantly or something.
Yeah.
If I put it above the heart and my aim is true.
Your hands were shaking in the moment, though.
He's a big boy.
He was. It was a rhino.
He's a big boy.
But yeah. And the continuation of this question was for me, and it was saying, what was the craziest thing the players did, or the thing that threw me for a loop the most? I can definitely think of two. The one being in episode 1, where they did not go further into the breathing chasm. Instead, they got on long-faced Cloppy Hooves and like charged into the onslaught of Golden Guards. I thought, like, I was like so prepared. I had prepared so much regarding that decision that they would make. And then like the end of the first season should have ended with them just getting to Orem, like right at the end.
Come on.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I envisioned it. But obviously these guys took the story their own way, and I loved it. Like it threw me for such a loop. And then Adam, I believe, was the one who suggested they go to the forest nearby, which I didn't even think they really knew about, because like I sent them all the map, but yeah, it led to this whole other thing. Thankfully, I had something like ongoing there already that was already pre-planned. That threw me for a loop super hard. But the second one, I would say, was when Zippy walks up to the queen, makes her start crying because he's talking about her like potentially dead grandson, and then like making the deal with Turi. Like the whole deal with Turi thing was never planned, but given the certain circumstances, it just made sense. But that definitely threw me for a loop.
I feel like some people could think that we talk with Seth prior to the episode of kind of story things we want to hit, but we honestly never do. Like we are constantly doing things just, you know, on our own volition. We make the story as it goes. We have no idea where we're going to be at the end of the episode, and I think just like if I could pat myself on the back and the rest of you all, we do quite a good job of getting from A to B pretty seamlessly in an episode. Like I don't think we ever had too many times where we just like stood around and just like, well, I guess I'll do this. No, like I feel like we always kind of had plans that we wanted and we just went for it. So I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, we even limited the amount that we talked as players to each other about plans. Like a couple times when it was like, okay, we got to go sneak into this place, we would kind of like call each other up and say, okay, like the characters would have time to kind of make a plan. So we would kind of, okay, maybe we'll go in through the back or something like that. But besides that, we tried really hard to keep it all on the recording table, so to speak, as possible.
And whenever you guys made those plans, like you never told me. I was never in those calls.
Yeah.
If there's someone who was leaking it to
Sure.
Seth, oh my goodness.
I have a guy. It's one of you three. There's a mole on the inside.
No, it's true. We don't really bring Seth in on those plans. And man, I loved when we charged head first, like up to Orem, like just being able to give Seth my big green Eldrin middle finger, just to screw you. I'm going at the guards.
I was so scared because like this is my first time DMing too, like really DMing, and yeah, I was just like, oh, this is what they go through. I don't know what to do. like, should I pull all these other things I had? So yeah, I had to scrap pages worth of stuff. Thanks, guys.
Well, you never know.
Moving
Maybe we'll
on, the
end up
last
back
question from Bill Shreve. Sorry, what?
there. I said you never know. Maybe we'll end up back there.
You never know. Season 2 coming out soon. But at Bill Shreve, your last question that you sent was for Jacob specifically. And it was, what was your thought process in creating a bunny person or a Lapine? It's not a normal race. Where did your inspiration come from for this? But you may have kind of already answered that before.
Yeah, I mean, I got the gist of it, but I just wanted to really, I look, I know it seems like I'm the best D&D player in the world, but
And humble. You're so humble.
but no, it's like the first time I've honestly ever really done D&D, and so it's been a learning curve throughout the whole process. I just knew I wanted to make something interesting for myself as a player, and it started for me in the character creation as the actual character. I kind of workshopped this at a little bit, just like I think the first thing I wanted to be was like a giant or something, but I don't know, I just saw the Lapine artwork and then just how it was kind of like a workshopped class. And I don't know, I just wanted to be something different, and I thought I could make a fun character out of it, and I thought the viewers would like it as well. Just, it's you get a lot of humans or elves or whatever in D&D, and I thought it would be fun. And also a voice like the Zippy voice would go well with the actual animal, which I think I accomplished that. So no, that's kind of where my thought process went. The rest was honestly just on the fly, like him saying his signature, intro where he's just talks about where he's from, and
I'm
just
from the bramble patch.
yeah, it just rambles on. That's just something I just kept doing, and I don't plan anything, guys. I just
Man, that is
Just
one of
keep
those.
talking.
That's one of those creative decisions I think you've made, like as the character in the moment. That is actually probably one of my favorites. When we first started, and you did it the first couple times, I was like, oh my goodness, and like it was like would like roll my eyes at the next one, but then it like
it's
really
endearing.
grew on
It's
me, and I found
endearing.
well, that's what I mean. It really grew on me, and how much like it really like makes the character and helps you understand the character's whole personality in that first like 2 minutes about who they are, and in that introduction, that like now every time like it just starts and I know it's happening, like I just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Like just like it's become this like big inside joke like with the team, basically, that's how Zippy always introduces himself, and they just think it's really funny. And I that's one of my I think was a really cool thing that came out of you just playing the character.
I think if there's some way to describe the character, it'd be unpredictably predictable.
Yeah, exactly. I do enjoy that there was the one time with Colm when you first met him in the cave and you did the intro, and I was like determined to not interrupt and see how far you would go with it.
I just kept going.
That was a good moment. You kept going. I was surprised. I had to cut him off. Okay, next question. This one is from @D&D Blaggards on Twitter, and this one's for the player characters. How do you stay in character so convincingly? And I got to give you guys props for that as well. Like, you guys are in characters like 90% of the episode. Like, you even talk to me and you're like DM questions in character voice. So how do you guys do it? What's your method? What's your secrets?
I don't know. I think for me, like I've listened to quite a few other D&D podcasts and those in the community, and I think what really stands out to me as a listener is I love hearing the players like actually taking on the character as like a role rather than just like, you know, I guess like this mental image of like playing with like little toy soldiers. Like instead of doing that, like you're a character actually acting it out, and seeing and hearing that and hearing people be able to play those characters makes it more immersive. And the shows that I love the most are where the players do that a lot. And that was something when we were doing it was really important to me, that I was like, I really want to like just like be Darian, and so I try and avoid, you know, like player questions like as much as like is reasonable, and acting it out in game, because I think that's more exciting and engaging, and wanting to participate in it. So making that a priority is what's really helped me kind of stick to that, at least for me.
Yeah, acting classes every Tuesday night. I no,
I have a coupon.
no, no. I think it's like I enjoy being in Zippy's skin than my own. No.
I hate my life. I just don't want to be me ever.
No, I don't know. I like the idea of almost like turning yourself off and just embodying this kind of persona. And I don't know. I like, it's just so different from myself. I would think that like I don't know. I just find it easy to just be the bunny.
Bunnies within. It's kind of liberating to, like, you know, stretch your skin, because obviously, like you said, you never act like that in real life, and to be someone you're not, you know, it's fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I do always stay in character so convincingly. I kind of feel like Normandy has changed pretty often, just in terms of how I've come to understand him, especially as more of his background has kind of been created. But I do my best to try to think, okay, how would Normandy react in this situation? And honestly, being surrounded with such a good team where their improv is so quick and their characters are so believable, it snaps me back whenever I'm beginning to metagame in my head. Like, oh, wait, like, I should really do this to get this kind of reaction. But then Darian, not Connor, Darian says something that Darian would say, and I go, but Connor already knows. Oh, but Darian doesn't know that. Okay, well, oh, right, okay. And it kind of gets me back into that place. So having a good team and a good DM really helps me personally.
Well, I guess kind of going off of that, though, Seth, for you then, how, like, it's kind of a second part of the question here. How do you keep track of all those character voices then? Because I know I have a distinct memory of us when we're going to the castle, and there's kind of this convergence of characters that you're just jumping between for like a good 30 to 40 minutes, where you're just bouncing back and forth between people, and NPCs are having conversations with each other, and you're switching voices rapidly. Like, it's honestly really impressive. I've played with quite a few different DMs, and your unique voices and characters and personalities, and then being able to talk to each other doing that is impressive. How do you kind of keep track of that?
Blackjack and yogurt specifically, because oh my god!
Yeah, I was
going
gonna
to
say it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Yeah, once you get the hang of it, it just comes naturally. You know, you just keep going back and forth, and it's flipping a switch. Yeah, switch, get one. No, I have a list. I have a giant list of all the NPCs I've named, and a list of the ones that could like enter, with brief notes on all of them. But specifically, right next to their names in brackets, I usually have a description of their voice and the character and things like that. Like, so for Blackjack, it's like, you know, you gotta talk gravelly, you gotta talk with a little bit more raspy, and you gotta be like Boston or something. And then Yogurt's just like, oh, you gotta be, you know, real high and the same thing, but like nice and sweet, and I got a fat ass.
Seth, I've met so many people who think there are two people in the room after listening to Blackjack and Yogurt.
Well, yeah, I'd like to introduce you to my other brother, Also, he's Yogan, right? No, that's the biggest compliment. Like, honestly, that means so much to me. And I'm not a voice actor. I don't really do voices. These were the first time I've ever really been experimenting. Except when I play video games with Jacob, I usually do voices, and that's how I develop them. but but other than that, yeah, a lot of time in the shower is how I make them. But how I keep track of them is just a sheet and with little notes next to them on how, which would make sense to me of how to kind of switch and go into that voice. So, be organized and keep documents, because otherwise I couldn't remember them all off the top of my head. Now, like, whenever somebody says blackjack or yogurt, yeah, I can go into that by memory. But not everybody, obviously. But yeah, it's fun to do the voices.
Marley's
I think that's my
voice?
favorite part about being a DM.
Marley's voice, you nail hers. She's the best one.
Of Marley?
Yeah.
Honestly, that was the most challenging. Being a silent deaf girl is just, ugh.
Both those kids were so
you don't see on my
incredibly
side, but
sweet.
I'm signing.
I love those kids so much.
Signing.
Yeah, right. Jacob likes the kids, but Zippy's like, put him in a cage. I love that. That's one of the favorite parts too. Is when you first get to the mansion, you're like, keep Paige in a cage. Cage the page.
Cage
hashtag.
the page.
But yeah, another question here is from Josiah Mahan on Twitter, and it is: what was the plan if the party had chosen to save the king instead of Gilbert's daughter? I don't know, guys. What was your plan if you did that?
Get super effing rich.
Honestly, I think this question is more for you, Seth. Like, what would you have done?
What would I have done? Yeah. So you guys have actually asked me. I think I've gotten a lot of questions from you guys, especially of what would have happened if we did this or things like that. Especially after we're just finished recording, you're like, oh, what would have happened if I didn't stab Carmine or if Colm didn't work out, things like that. And there is backup plans for those things. Not everything is just like the one track, obviously, as we've said before. We don't plan anything. We really improv it on the spot. And I'm thrown for a loop almost every episode. But in this instance, I truly thought the guys were going to save the king instead of Gilbert. I tried to make it a decision like that was equal enough. Grand treasure versus rep with a king. But knowing you guys, I thought you were just going to be like, screw the guy. He might be lying about having this grand treasure clue. Like, that could be a total lie. We should just go with the guaranteed, like, king saving sauce and get rich. Yeah. So the plan was, though, or what I envisioned was they would save the king. They'd get a lot of gold. They'd get a lot of reputation. And then they would be immediately inducted into the Greeters Guild alongside Stretch. Stretch wouldn't have had to die.
No.
So they would have been kind of in the Greeters Guild with this makeshift team of like low tier greeters that were left behind, and they would probably be traveling the world to try and find the other greeters who are with Felix and try and catch up to them on their quest. So that was where I thought that would have gone.
So many things we wouldn't have met. Like, we wouldn't have seen so much. It's weird. Like Valentine's shop maybe, or Jezebel, or the guy at the music store. Like, who knows? Well, we never would have got the piano key.
Yeah, you wouldn't have. You'd be looking for a completely different grand treasure than the one you're on. So it would have been cool. But you ruined it. think of repent for your sins. All right, we got a few more fan questions. So we got these from Jacob Goudreau. Thank you, on Twitter. Connor, yours is first.
Oh, fun.
Was there anything that changed about your characters, or like Darian, as you played them throughout the season that you weren't expecting? So how did Darian evolve in a way that you didn't expect?
Yeah.
Or did you predict all of it?
I predicted all of it. I'm a genius. No, not at all. Actually, I would say probably the biggest switch happened really quick. I had originally expected Darian to be more carefree and kind of like a free spirit kind of character. But based on the people he had started being teamed up with and adventuring with, his kind of inner responsibility took over. And so that's why he's, I guess you could say, kind of sobered up a little more in terms of how he's responsible, how he interacts with, the nobles and the peoples that he's involved with, because he feels like he needs to be the responsible one, which was, without getting too much into spoiler, was not his hopes in coming here. He expected to be a little more of a free spirit in this, but the situation called for more reason and responsibility and leadership, and so that was a hard pivot, I think, that happened for me, that I was like, well, it's not just going to let that fly, and having to switch that. So that was the biggest change that came out. But I think the other parts of it is then, because of that pivot, how it's developed more into how he envisions the teams and the decisions he makes, because he pivoted into, okay, I'm now responsible for these people and I need to keep them safe, which then turned into a lot of conflict with Norman, when he killed Zhao after Zippy got captured, and taking the decision in his own hands caused a lot of conflict because he kind of stepped too far the other direction. And so kind of learning to balance I need to take care of these people and I'm responsible for these people, but also I need to respect their wishes and their decisions, and trying to find the happy medium there is a new thing for him, and something that he's still kind of figuring out. And so that was a direction for the character I wasn't quite expecting so early.
Darian is definitely the dad of the group.
He's the oldest, that's for sure.
That's true. A question for Adam, two actually.
Ooh.
Why the accordion first?
Oh, I'm French Canadian. My grandfather played accordion all his life, ever since I was a kid. Family reunions, they would play violin, guitar, and accordion every single time. It was great. I don't know. It just kind of felt, and it also kind of felt
felt like home.
Like but it also kind of felt like swashbuckly, kind of that swaying, kind of piratey thing. And Norman isn't a pirate, but he grew up on islands, and there's a lot of ship trade and sea travel. So I thought it was kind of fitting, because he's a bard, but grew up in a monk kind of place. So kind of had to adapt and kind of learn music from the people who he would pass. And probably learn music from them, and so kind of probably got an accordion from some kind of sea guy at some point. So,
and the second follow-up is, Normandy looking for love? He got shot down with Jesse, unfortunately. My bad.
She's married, man.
I felt so bad in the moment, because when you said you had a crush on her, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh no, she's married. like, oh no.
But he's waiting for love to find him. He is a rolling stone, gathers no moss. But can
I actually believe that's true when you are actively stalking this chick?
Whatever happens. He's honestly preoccupied with other things, but he
sounds like the words of a heartbroken man.
Yeah. He hides it.
But you can catch Normandy on the next season of The Bachelor, Mondays at 8.
Yep. He's the guy with the horns.
He's the one guy with the horns. No, we'll see. This question's for Jacob. Do you know what the bramble patch is really like? Or are you planning on letting Seth create it for you? How does that whole approach work?
Well,
I think I can answer this one.
Well,
because Jacob is creating it in every sentence he says, like one at a time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go through every episode of season 1 and just like write down everything I ever said to like make sure it's accurate.
I've kept brief notes of like all the weird references you made. Like, objectively now, Black Bunny Castle is better than Orem's.
Not objectively, realistically. If you guys want to know, if you guys look carefully at the map that we have posted of Orem, there's actually a lot more information going on in the Bramble Patch Corner than you may think. Am I just saying that? To fill in time for this question? Maybe. No, I mean, like, even if you guys look at the map, there is things you can piece together, it being surrounded by mountains, but then also that little house just outside the mountains that I'm sure will play into the Bramble Patch lore as well. We'll have to find out if we ever go back home. We'll see
We
what
should
happens.
say that you guys are heading to Poker Rock, or that's where the last season ended, to get an airship, and that's very close to the Bramble Patch, so we might have
get a
an
nice
encounter.
little view. But yeah, I mean,
Neighbors.
I think I said in the prologue, it's been a while since I listened to it, that there's like, I think I said this, that there's like different houses in the same sense of like, let's just say Game of Thrones, if you've ever, but not in like this.
Not necessarily.
No one's actually
extremely close.
actually after the throne though, because everyone respects the Lord of Black Bunny Castle. Allegedly. But no. You guys will just have to see when we get there, and in true Zippy style, it'll be a hell of a time.
I will say that Jacob definitely laid the foundation of the Bramble Patch. I fleshed out a few more details so that I would know. But everything like I flesh out, Jacob knows, so that when we eventually get to the Bramble Patch, he'll know what's going on and who's there, and he has a list of his, what is it, like, your family has like 80 names in it, I think.
Yeah, it's a huge list. But yeah.
And they all end with an E noise. It's like Zippy, Brandy, something. They're all very, it's a Westboro tradition. But yeah, we'll see more Bramble Patch soon, potentially.
Ooh.
And the last question from the fans for me here were there any locations or people that you were really hoping the characters would discover in this season that they never did? Can you tell us anything about them? I will tell you, not people, but I'll tell you places. There's 2 places individually that I was excited to go to, and we still might, so I won't give too many details, but one was the Breathing Chasm that they started in. As you could tell, like in the middle of that whole scene, rushing air came from below and lifted them up really high. So something there is causing these extreme winds to rise. And it was going to be this whole kind of cave adventure. And there was a lot of really cool things I had in there. So they might go there. The other place is Pan Pearl. It's to the west of Orem. It's near the sea. It's on the coast there. And Pan Pearl is like a gambling city. So it's just really like casino style, and I was excited for them to go there and gamble away all their gold. So they still might.
I want to go to Silver Rock River and pan for some gold.
And then we can save some animals that are locked up beside it and kind of like ruin the whole subplot of a movie.
But we have to go through the Crimson Plateau, and they say no animal comes out the same.
You got to go back to Wanawamp too, Camp Wanawamp.
Yeah,
there's secrets there.
I miss my
or
buddy,
Sanguine. I'm excited for you guys to go back to Sanguine eventually, the trading sea city. So
man, I miss Jelly Belly so bad.
No one's gonna know who we're talking about here.
Man,
listen to the prologue.
I actually have a question about those.
Hold on,
the
thing is though, like, man, I think probably one of my favorite NPCs that Seth has done is Jelly Belly from my prologue episode. It caught me so off guard, man. I burst out laughing in the episode. Like, it is the most genuine laugh. Like, I was so not ready, and it was it was another huge curveball that like really showed Seth's shine as a DM by just like being on it, like, bringing out the unexpected. It was fantastic.
Thank you. Well, thank you. For those who don't know, Jelly Belly is this short rotund child, this orc child who only speaks Spanish.
It was the best.
So no one knows what he's saying. But if you translate the actual words, I'm trying my best to say the Spanish, but if you translate roughly what I'm saying, you might be very shocked to see what he's talking about.
Seth hasn't even told me all the translations. Like, he told me,
I'll
like,
tell you
one or two of
one.
them.
One, he said that orcs love the sunshine, so that's something. But there's much darker ones. Maybe I'll release those eventually. But anyways, that's it for the fan questions. And before we get into just the last little wrap up and debrief that, we'll talk to each other about, we're going to do a mid-roll. So enter in mid-roll music now. All right, mid-roll time. So hello. Everybody here? I think we're all here.
Hello.
Yeah.
We're recording this at the same time.
We're here.
So, Connor, first up, tell us what's coming next. We just want to give you guys a little overview of what's to come for our show before we get back into season 2.
Yeah, well, this episode you're listening to right now is a Q&A episode, which is super exciting, and we're happy for you guys to listen to it. But then coming 2 weeks after this is going to be my one-shot, which we're keeping a little tight-lipped, which I'll reveal the name of the one-shot at the end of this episode. And once I figure out what it's going to be, and so we'll talk about it then. 2 weeks, or a week after that, a week after our one-shot, we're going to release a recap. It's going to be a full covering of what happened in the first season, and it's going to be a awesome jump-on point for new listeners. So if you have any friends or family or people you think that would really enjoy this, that weird coworker you kind of been wanting to, like, not really talk to, but he's like kind of into things like this, you can like maybe have some awkward water cooler conversation about, you can introduce him to our show. And that is a great point to jump on to if he doesn't want to listen to the whole backlog, or listen to that, get hooked, and then listen to the backlog, is also something cool that they can do there. And then the week after that, we're going to be jumping into season 2, which is going to be really
June
exciting.
25th.
Yeah, so at that time, you're actually going to get, something 3 weeks in a row. It's going to be the one shot, the recap, and then episode 1 of season 2. And for
I
season
don't think
2,
we agreed on that.
what?
It's going to be 2 weeks. 2 weeks every time.
I don't think the recap is going to be 2 weeks.
That's what I said in the last episode.
Oh
no.
That's not what we talked about. That's awkward.
If that's what you guys want, I guess.
Never mind. Well, that's changing. You can tell this is live because that's changing. Never mind. It's episode 2 weeks recap, 2 weeks episode.
All
1,
you need to know
season 2
is that June 25th is when we're starting season 2.
Yeah, heck yeah, and it's gonna be really
and
good.
everything
And
else
we
will be
are going to
filled
be
in.
continuing. We are going to be continuing the Grand Treasure storyline. And I know if you guys listen to any preamble stuff about the show, we are going to potentially look at doing some other stuff in the future. But for season 2, we are going to be continuing the storyline because we're loving the characters, loving this world that Seth has created, and we're going to continue to deep dive into that. So
And then
stay tuned.
we'll see. Maybe season 2 will be the end. You'll all die. And we can go on to new things. But yeah, Adam, tell them where they can find us on the social medias.
Oh boy, I'm like the one person who you shouldn't ask this to. Our handle on, you know what? I know Jacob wants to answer this so bad because he was telling me before. So I don't want to take it from him. He was really banking on you asking him. So
Okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry. Jacob, where can they find us on the social medias?
Let me just look this up on Twitter.
Let me just Google this. In the meantime, while he looks it up, Adam, what should they do after listening?
2 things. One, they should give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, especially 5 stars, because that helps us out a lot. It helps people who like D&D but haven't heard of our podcast yet. It kind of brings us up into their feed so they can check us out. That would be a huge help. And the other thing you can do is go to our Patreon page linked. What is our Patreon URL?
Cheaper by the Dungeon at Patreon.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Just Google it in there. You'll find it.
Okay, cool. Go there. We have tons of different options of ways that you can support us, and lots of really cool bonuses of all the things that you guys can get, and they're all compounded, obviously. So one tier above, you get everything that was below that, and so on and so forth. So it's really cool, and that would again, that helps us out a lot, keeping things running and making the quality of the program of the show better all the time.
Special shout out to Spencer Gatton, our newest Patreon person. Thank you so much. Everybody else, say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jabe, did you end up Googling what our social medias is? Because none of us know.
What's this?
A pigeon.
No. Someone just mailed me a letter. Let me open it. Oh. What's this? Our handle? Someone mailed this? Cheaper Dungeon.
That is so underwhelming. At Cheaper Dungeon on Twitter? That's all it says?
That's all it says. Oh, what's this? Flipped it over. On Facebook. Cheaper by the dungeon.
Whoa, 2 extra words. Oh man, what's that PS say at the bottom? I can't read, I'm too far.
Doesn't have Instagram.
Mm.
We have an
I
Instagram.
think we do have an Instagram.
We do?
I'm waiting for that other letter.
Cheaper_dungeon, I believe. Follow us there for some hot pics. We're going to be releasing a sexy fireman calendar with just the characters' drawings soon.
Ooh, I dropped my milk.
Oh, wow! Oh, sorry, I got a little too excited for that one. Anyways, that's the end of the mid-roll. Back to questions. Transition music, go! Boom! We are back in the room, and we got no more questions from you guys, but we got questions for each other. And we're just going to debrief and talk about the show for a little bit, and then we'll get out of your hair. So, I don't know. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
Well, actually, before we go, Connor, I don't want to hear you.
Oh, okay.
I want to know what was everybody's favorite moments, or just favorite moment in general over the season. Just top favorite part.
Wow. Hard question.
Yeah, so much happened.
Yeah. It's so easy to forget everything that happened too, because it's so diverse.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a favorite moment, because there's a lot of really exciting things that happened. But for me, I think a really cool moment and a really defining moment for us as a team is when we make the decision to save Gilbert's daughter, save Marley, and when we have that confrontation with Stretch outside, and there's this moment of like when we kill him, of like we've like there's kind of like a no going back feeling of like no, like we've closed that door. You know, we've defined who we are as a team and how we're gonna do things. And I think that really, I don't know, just that finite feeling of we've made this decision and now we have to roll with it and accept it.
I don't think I was there for that.
I think really cool for us.
I am almost 100% sure I wasn't there for that.
What are you talking about? You were
What?
totally there.
The Stretch scene?
Yeah, when
Stretch died.
we kill Stretch.
When was
Spoiler.
this?
But
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about the guy you tortured in the basement.
Oh, Barrow.
No,
Oh,
that was
Barrel.
Barrel. No, I mean that was a cool scene,
Like,
but
that
like
was violent.
no, that was interesting in its own way too for some other character development. But no, like when we killed Stretch, we came out with Mongo and we came out with Gilbert.
Right.
And-
I'm just like, I think as a team we really came together. I'm like, I don't think I was there for that.
I was being tortured in another part of the world.
I thought that narratively that was kind of some cool parallels happening at the time. But yeah, when we kill Stretch as he's about to like attack Norman, I think it's a really cool defining moment for us, and I like that.
Especially for Darien too, because that was when he really threw his chips in. Because at that point he could have bailed at any point. He wasn't obligated to anyone, and then he said, "Okay, I'm going to save one person's life at the expense of another." The choice is made.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was exciting.
I like the part where we're in the curiosity shop and I like dare the guys to put me in it. And then there comes the point. I'm like, you guys put me in it, and then it comes to the point where they're like, they could actually put me in it, and I was just like, as a player, I was like, I don't want to do this. This isn't a game anymore. I don't know where I could go.
What would happen to him?
That was so funny. You were making a joke of it all. You were gonna get tossed into this void chest, and then
there was razor blades coming out of that thing, and gross like hair clippings.
Oh, yeah. Covered in skin
and shin pads.
Ugh. Man, that void chest saved my life 100 times though.
That water bottle alone,
oh my gosh,
really
so
did
sick.
Pull through. What was your favorite moment, Adam?
I have two. First one being, and not for the reasons I thought it would be, for sure, was the tomato soup scene. So if anyone doesn't know, because it was a while back, Norman and Darien and Zippy all kind of have a bit of an altercation because Normandy cracks this joke that is totally interpreted the wrong way as being like a racist thing towards Darien because he's an Eladrin who's like a green elf and calls him a lizard and all this kind of stuff. And then before he kind of knows it, and before I knew it too, Normandy kind of found himself what felt like the outside of this team. And so I was trying to think, okay, how would Normandy kind of bridge this gap so he chooses to kind of reveal this really vulnerable part of his past, which is kind of this backstory thing. And that was one part that me and Seth had talked about was like, hey, is it appropriate to bring this up? Is this too soon to kind of reveal this thing? And we kind of thought, no, it's actually perfect. And in my mind, the way that it was going to play out was I was going to kind of say this scene, the harp would start playing in the background. We'd all kind of come together and go, oh, we're like a beautiful team. And then Normandy kind of made some headway with Darien, kind of won some respect and understanding, because Normandy did apologize too. But then, was I ever thrown for a curve when Zippy was like, that's not good enough. You can't just say something and expect it to erase all of these actions that you've done. And it really threw me for a loop, but at the same time, it really made, in my mind, the characters real. Because it wasn't, because I think in my mind, I'm so trained to problem, there's a resolution, half-hour sitcom kind of thing. And these characters go beyond that. You know, they've kind of become more than just like a sitcom situational plot device, but they're real characters with motivations of their own. And it really made it real for me, and kind of thought, wow, okay, like one fancy speech isn't enough to win someone over. I have to be a team player. So that was a really cool moment for me.
I think it was really interesting that throughout this season we broke two of the cardinal sins of D&D, which is don't split the party, which Zippy did by running.
You could
running
say
up
I was
and then,
abandoned, but whatever.
Yeah. You didn't think it would split the party. You didn't think it was a moment for that, really, or that it would end up like it did. And then we also allowed like for inter-character conflict, which usually leads to split parties anyways and bad things. But I think we used both as really cool character development, team development, and also just like storytelling mechanics. So kudos to you guys. I didn't really have a hand in that. But yeah, what was the other moment?
Oh, the real quick, just the scene where we're riding on our horses and all those black hooded riders are chasing us, and we got to really see Zippy wasn't there, sad face, but we got to see real duality and fighting styles between Darien and Normandy, and kind of the strengths and weaknesses of each, and And, no surprise, Darian came in and saved the day at the end because, Normandy just couldn't cut it because he's very, very squishy. But
After you blew me off my horse and killed my horse.
you had to revive it 8 times.
That was so funny.
But I really like that because it really kind of showed that was the first time I think in combat it kind of showed the team dynamics. It's like, hey, I cover your weaknesses and I cover yours, and so on and so forth. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that as we go forward and see.
It's definitely a buddy cop moment.
Yeah, it was cool.
Connor, your questions. I'll let you ask them now that you had, and I cut you off.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I do have one actually specifically for Adam on this one. I'm curious as to what really was going through Norman's mind, and maybe you can't divulge in this because it's too, something that needs to be acted out in game, but that's fine. But when Norman decided to come back and kill Beryl, was he really thinking about, the betterment of the team, or is that him kind of succumbing to his demon lord heritage and feeling like that's what he should do in that kind of scenario, if that makes sense?
So I have a black ball on my desk, and every time I just kind of mute my mic and I ask it what I should do, and I just kind of shake it, and it tells me.
No.
Just kidding.
That's a bad idea.
It was actually really multifaceted decision. I was actually, if you go back and listen to it, I don't say anything for the whole 20 minutes beforehand because I'm really consumed with this thought of first pragmatically, what if this guy catches wind of Combe being there? What's gonna what could unfold? Combe could realize everything. He could get killed. But then it wasn't so much Royce and the Demon King influencing him, although that's actually so much cooler than what I thought. But it was really Norman trying to learn a little bit from Darian's book, kind of saying, well, what's for the betterment of the team? Even if it's not what I want to do, or if it's a dirty job, if it keeps the team safe and kind of keeps us on track, that's what we should do. And it was more so the conversation before when they tortured Beryl, that the whole son of the Demon King, Lord of the Deep, kind of played a role, saying, hey, I understand that death is a part of life, and for life to move on, death needs to exist, and so that things can become stronger and evolve. That's the only way that things can really exist long term, if there's death, and that's why the deep needs to exist. So that was kind of Normandy's thoughts for that, but really the Beryl thing is he kind of thought, well, for once, Darian doesn't have to do that heavy lifting kind of thing.
Interesting. I didn't think you would think in that way, that it doesn't have to always fall on Darian's shoulders, because I think kind of in kind of the other side of that is, in a way, Darian has kind of felt like that when it's come to the dirty decisions of well, yeah, no, we gotta eliminate this threat, we gotta kill Zhao, and in those ways he's willing to make those decisions, and part of that is understanding the necessity, but the other part of that is kind of from him being more of a Fey creature, and from the Feywild, and how they view kind of life and the necessity of action, which is just very different than the Prime Plane in terms of morality, and there's a lot more gray in the Feywild in terms of good versus evil, and so he hasn't felt quite the same burden in a sense of feeling guilty, but has felt as in he's got to be the one to make the decisions because they view that differently. So seeing Norman kind of take that on a little bit is interesting. Yeah. So I guess kind of going off of that, I have another question, but for Seth, what was for each of us, what was your favorite player moment? So a decision we made or an action we did that you were that kind of blew you out of the water, that you really enjoyed.
Let me think about that.
You have to think.
Well, there's so many. I can think comedy-wise for Darian, I thought it was so funny when you went to the mansion and were like, "Oh, raw meat? Oh, like you cook your meat, you disgusting animals! Like, what are you doing with cooked meat?" I thought that was hilarious. And also in the dream sequence when Darian is looking up at Zippy and this other dream person fighting like gods, and then he's just like, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother, and just starts walking the other way. Uh, but in terms of decisions, I really, really like the decision that Darian made or that you made as a character for character development, where you started, losing control of your powers, especially in the city, where you started, or not your powers, like your emotions, and you went to the bar, and then you met Jezzy, um, who was surprisingly connected to the Fae. But I think that was a decision I really enjoyed seeing play out as character development, because Darian, like, for the most part, had just been kind of this serious, stoic, like, solo dude, and then we got to see kind of another more vulnerable side of him there. In terms of combat, Darian always crushes it. I have no complaints. For Normandy, I have a few. I think my absolute favorite move you've done was the detect thoughts on Dawson after the piano key exploded the piano. I thought that was so clever, and I was like, oh man, I wasn't expecting to give you as much information as I did, and you might think even now like that wasn't a lot, but that was definitely my favorite move you pulled out. That was definitely a smooth one. Yeah, I thought that was ingenious. And of course, your charm person's on everyone.
No doubt. Great success.
It almost worked. It almost worked. For Zippy, honestly, I've hated every single decision Zippy's made because it screwed me over so much. It's a fucking nightmare. It's the worst. I everything he does throws some sort of wrench in my plans. So for Zippy, I hate everything he does.
Oh.
But but my absolute favorite decision or move he's made was turning into a penguin that one time. I thought that was funny. And I really enjoy, from a character perspective, that Jacob or Zippy, like, especially in that fight, the first boss fight against Paul, he's literally dangling his legs off the edge for like a solid round. He just sits and watches, and I'm like, that's so Zippy. Like, it's so funny. Like, from an actual D&D player perspective, like, I'm sure you two were screaming because Normandy was about to die as well.
I remember like that. I think that's also a very like good representation of us as a team in terms of like our personalities coming out is like Zippy's sitting there like carefree, just like, they got it, it's fine. Darian's in there swinging his sword frantically, like annihilating them, and then Norman's sitting there just like, I can't charm these monkeys, and then goes down.
Yeah.
And like, it's just seeing us there like that, just how sloppy it is just, it's really
so
good.
Funny. That also reminds me with Darian, another thing I really enjoyed was that you searched the tree, the dead tree there. I didn't think you'd do that, but there was actually something in there that I was really hoping you'd find. Obviously, we know it's now like the Cinder Soul, or Tinder Soul, sorry. And yeah, I thought that was good that you were actually searching and things like that.
Credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I want to point out that, like,
I should also say, that. Actually, maybe that's more of a Jacob moment.
And he never gave me anything for that.
You got the hat.
You threw it away, and I picked it up.
I like how Jacob also, again, in the finale, this isn't a spoiler really, but Jacob wanted a dagger kind of bone shape, or he just wanted a tooth kind of from the bones of this monster. And Darian finds it and picks it up and doesn't give it to him. But and of course, lastly, who could forget Normandy's incredible water bottle play? That threw me for a loop. I honestly thought Carmine was going to kill him.
Wow. That was a scary moment. I remember like having the shakes in that episode, thinking about what was going to happen.
I was shocked when you were like, I'm gonna be the one to bait him, basically, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be so bad. But you pulled it off.
That bottle, man, was so sick.
But yeah, did you guys have fun?
Yeah, man.
This is
Great
good.
season.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's all that matters. Any last questions before we head off?
I actually have a close friend just sending a message to me. I just texted him saying, hey, we're doing our Q&A. And he said, do we plan on going weekly on our recordings anytime soon?
I think we can all say at the moment, that's not really feasible for us and our personal schedules. We all work long hour jobs, and doing the 2 weeks alone is sometimes difficult. I don't know. Do you guys think? I think maybe if we get enough of that Patreon money, huh? then we could go week.
Well,
If
realistically,
I could live
yeah.
on ramen noodles, I would, and I can do that with your guys' support. Patreon, cheaper dungeon.
I would
Is that in the
love.
letter?
I would love to go weekly.
Yeah.
Like if we could do that, we could just
Yeah, don't
play
get me
more
wrong. Yeah.
and really dive into that, sink our teeth in these characters in this world. Like I'd love to do that, but it's just kind of hard given the our current life situations for all of us. So I think as we gather more support and people want to listen to the show, it becomes more and more a possibility for something like that to take place. It's something I think all of us would want to work towards and strive towards. So a way that if you as a listener want to support that, is get your friends and family on board, share it, and just the more support we can get on the show and on Patreon and through other methods as well, we're closer to that becoming a reality.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get on Ryan and Kelly in the morning. Do you hear me, Ryan?
Honestly,
Ryan Seacrest.
Ryan
If I can get
Ryan
on
wouldn't
one,
listen. Ryan wouldn't listen, but Kelly, listen. Hey, Kelly, I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah.
if I can get on
want
one daytime television spot, just one, I can die happy.
Kelly, baby, I know we go so far back. I know you said you never want to see me again, but if I'm gonna pull a favor, this is the one.
Kelly stopped listening.
owe me.
Kelly left the chat.
Remember Nam?
In all
All that went down there.
in all seriousness, it's like likes and
Kelly! I'm kidding. Go on.
That's fine. In all seriousness, though, likes and shares and reviews and stuff are all are so appreciated, but nothing really tells us that we're doing a good job like a financial support, because it just communicates. And of course, we love all the comments and everything alone, but nothing tells us that you love what we're making like that. And it just kind of says that you really value it, and it's just really encouraging. So everyone who's given already, thanks so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you to our patrons. You guys are superstars. And
You guys are the real MVPs.
They are. But not everybody can financially support us, and that's totally fine. Honestly, listening to our show alone helps us out, and it means the world to us. Yeah, sharing us and telling friends and everything, just basically, just supporting us. It really does mean the world
Be
to
a
us.
cheapskate.
And even if you don't, we're gonna keep making the show anyways, because screw you. But yeah. Kelly, you have my number. I know you do. Does anybody have any more final thoughts or questions before we cap off this Q&A and head into Connor's one shot next?
Woo!
Oh no.
Oh yeah, the name. We need the name. I'm good.
Oh yeah, that's the name. Before we go, the name. Oh man, Jacob was telling me about this earlier, and he was saying it was insane.
He didn't tell me. He's trolling me the whole time.
What?
He said, "Oh man, if only you
He
knew
never
this
does
name,
that.
oh, man, you would go nuts." He hasn't told me.
Yeah, well, he didn't tell me the name. Yeah, he told me about what it represents and the importance of it. And honestly, I'm about to piss myself with anticipation. Piss myself if I don't hear this. If I don't hear this in the next 5 seconds, I'm pissing myself. That's a guarantee. The zipper's coming off.
Oh no. That's
Don't
so
say
much.
anything,
Ready?
Connor. Don't say anything.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You didn't say one.
Oh, God damn it! I pissed myself.
Do we get a name?
Oh my gosh.
Why is it sticky?
Let's go with
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, could you say it again? I'm fine. I muted myself.
He
Sorry,
just
I
told
couldn't
us. It's amazing.
Yeah, you missed it.
Oh, I can't. Wow. I think we should end it there.
hear. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that was a great name, Connor. Really excited
Yeah.
for that.
Sweet.
So bye. I have an emergency, so I'll see you guys later, I guess.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. See you in the one shot.
Bye.